Northanger After Dark. There you are. I was sitting outside the bathroom, waiting for Jerry to come back. I had been sitting here for about 30 minutes while he ignored my texts and phone calls. I considered if I should go to park security about it, but I had no idea where that was. I had just decided to wait another few minutes when he came around a corner. "Where were you?" I asked. Jerry rolled his eyes, but I could see he was wound up and agitated. I was dreading his explanation. It always gets like this. I knew it when I agreed to go to Northanger Parks with him. I knew it when he wasn't worried that I had never really been a fan of anything related to the Northanger amusement empire. I knew it when he tried to explain the characters. I knew it when he bought me a unicorn horn that he wanted me to wear around the park. I knew it when he tried to get me to be cute in pictures for his social media accounts. I knew it when we got into an argument in the line for some King Arthur ride. I knew it when we were removed from the line and asked to just walk away. I knew it when he suggested we take a break and go to the bathroom. I knew it. I went to the security office and told them what I thought about being removed from the line. "Did they invite you?" I had to be careful with how I phrased my questions. I didn't want to start a fight. It would just grow because he would be embarrassed that we were fighting in Northanger Parks. He was obsessed with his image. It was what triggered his anger and the fight at the ride. He never touched me because he didn't want people to think he had an anger problem, but he would pick fights with bigger guys. Sometimes I had to remind myself that I loved him. This trip was making that difficult to do. Yes, Amy, they invited me. I was willing to bet the invitation had not been optional. They are constantly watching the park guests. They knew where we were at every moment of the day. They would have known where their problem guest was at all times and be able to identify a problem before it started. Jerry had been picking for a fight since we checked into our hotel. Each time someone intervened. I wanted to take lessons from them, it was impressive. Do you feel like they heard you? I know it's frustrating to not be heard. Even better, I got free passes to stay all night. What? I asked. That's not what I expected to hear. Yeah, for the first time, I felt like they were taking me seriously. I told them what I thought about how shitty this whole trip has been. I saw the woman next to me, who was wiping chocolate off her 5-year-old's face, wince at Jerry's profanity. He did not care who heard what. This attitude had once attracted me, but now I knew it was a sign of his escalating irritation. They let people stay all night? I asked him. I could see the woman stop washing off her child and focus her attention on us. Of course, others would want to know how Jerry had snagged something as coveted as late-night passes. He pulled out a card from his back pocket and showed it to me. "This is just so we have a reminder, maybe for your scrapbook or for me to put on social media." I don't know. I don't scrapbook, but he would probably spend about an hour finding the best shot to take a picture on social media. I looked at the card, and it was clearly branded for Northanger Parks. It said we could be in the park from 10 p.m. tonight to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. They keep the rides running all night. I guess they figured they should make some money to cover their electricity costs, Jerry said. Are they interested in you sharing this with your followers? Not yet, but they said we could talk about it tomorrow morning. They told me it's new, so we're a beta test, of sorts. How awesome that they know you're an influencer. He's not really that much of an influencer. I could only assume they just wanted to stop his constant complaints and harassment of other guests. Come on, I need a nap if we're going to stay up all night. The park was practically dead when we got back later that night. We hadn't relaxed as much as I wanted. After a nap, Jerry had spent the evening getting social media posts ready for the morning when he expected to be able to share them with his followers. We walked against the crowds, people looking at us like we were crazy. At the hotel, we were the only people in line to go back towards the park on the monorail. The guards and other staff knew who we were and that we were going back into the park. We were offered morning turn-down service so we could sleep a little. It included making sure the blackout curtains were shut and that a small breakfast was waiting for us. They only picked one couple tonight, the monorail driver told us. It's a big deal to get selected. I didn't realize Jerry was so lucky, I said, smiling at my boyfriend. You should make sure you try the microverse, the driver continued. This is one of the rides that made them consider doing this. The dolls would continue to sing, and the music play all night. It's a little creepy but so fun to go on your own. Some of the staff have been allowed to help them test the night. Why? I asked. To see how much stuff they would need. The microverse, since it's so easy to run, only has one person running it from the booth. You just get on the boat you like and then get off at the end. When we scanned our bands at the gate, we were congratulated on being selected to participate in this test run. There will be staff around, and food options open until midnight. They won't open again until 5 a.m. when the staff returns to open the park, the gate staff member told us. We brought snacks, I said, getting excited for the first time since we got on the plane. Smart move. Do you have a refillable cup? I got one when we arrived at our hotel. It was a smarter decision than I realized. I watched Jerry, who seemed anxious as we walked back into the park fighting against the departing crowds. We had missed the fireworks, but I wasn't a huge fan and had seen them the night before. Jerry had spent the entire show filming them and posting it on his accounts. Are you excited? I asked. He was rifling through my bag, looking for a bag of peanuts. I wish all these people would leave already. Do you think people will try to stay? He shrugged. Even if they do, I added, I bet their passes won't let them on rides. That's true. We should start riding them. Why don't we do things that will close at midnight? That's only 2 hours from now. What's so important that we need to do it in the next 2 hours? Eat and get souvenirs. Think of all the great photos you can take of merchandise without kids getting in your way. I tried to focus on the things he had been complaining about over the trip, the lines for food, the difficulty of finding seats, the kids bumping into him and ruining his pictures or videos, and the lines to get on rides. I only care about riding the rides as many times as I want, Jerry said. Right, but we have 10 hours before anyone else is in the park. No, we have 8 hours. They'll let people in early tomorrow morning. I checked the television to make sure I knew how to budget our time. He was constantly watching the Northanger Parks network in our hotel room. I had heard the same music from their movies over and over while we got ready in the morning and evening. Today he had kept it on through our naps, and I had dreams about the music. One rotating screen was about the special early hours they had for each park within the resort. We had initially planned to do the early hours tomorrow morning. I hoped tonight would mean we could skip it. Do you want to stay for the early hours like you originally wanted? I asked. Why the fuck would I want to do that after spending all night here? I just wanted to get a sense of how you want to spend the evening. I want to ride the ride, Amy. I don't want to waste time shopping. You can do that another time. You don't need food, you brought snacks. Those are for later. We just ate dinner. That was about 4 hours ago. We should consider something now. You do what you want. I'm going to get on a ride. I didn't fight, not wanting to lose him and spend the night on my own. I just followed him to the very ride I had not wanted to get on, a new roller coaster with 2 loops and 1 very steep drop. People were exiting the queue as we walked up. "Don't try it, dude," one guy said to Jerry. "They're shutting down for the night," another said. "You fuckers aren't as lucky as us," Jerry said to them and walked into the queue entrance. "You ride this one, I'll meet you back here," I said, lingering. Jerry seemed to ignore me, not looking back as he jumped over sections of the barriers. "You guys going to try to stay in all night?" one of the guys asked me. "We got passes to stay for the night." "Some beta test of something new," I said, shrugging. "Cool. Maybe we'll try staying then. If they expect people to be here all night, maybe they won't kick us out." Just as he said that, a security guard walked over to us. "Gentlemen," he said to the group, "the park is closing." "We have passes for the night," one of the guys quickly said. "No, only this young lady and her companion do." "I can escort you to the exit," the security guard said, nodding to me. "We're with them. Now, don't fight it. You can always come back early tomorrow morning and not deal with as many lines." I walked away from the group and toward a restaurant by the ride. I was happy to find they had burgers available. They told me these had been made a few hours before, for the crowds, and I could tell, when I ate it, that it had been sitting for a while. I wondered if allowing people in all night would mean the restaurants opened more often and more food was made, or if late-night food would be the leftovers and cold foods. I sat at the line exit and waited for Jerry. I sat there for a while and eventually got worried that he had moved on to another ride while I had been getting food. I was ready to text him to check in but saw him running down the exit before getting my phone out of my bag. "How did you get out before me?" "You were behind me," he said when he saw me sitting there. "I didn't go on the ride. I told you I don't want to ride that one, and I wanted to get something to eat." Jerry's face fell, his expression going flat. If he were a woman, we would call it resting bitch face. I knew it was his annoyance. "You didn't get me anything? You probably won't like the food. It's whatever they have left over from when they were open to everyone. You should have asked me. It would have gotten cold waiting for you anyway." "How many times did you ride the roller coaster?" "About 10, but now I'm hungry." "You should have known I would want something to eat." "You can have a pack of peanuts." "I don't want a pack of peanuts. I want a turkey leg." "I didn't see any of those." "What have you been doing?" "Waiting for you." He pursed his lips, and his nostrils flared. I could feel my anxiety spike for a moment. I suddenly wished there were more people around and hoped the constant security extended into the middle of the night. "We can still get you something to eat," I said, hoping to avoid his meltdown as long as possible. He stomped off toward the restaurant, and I followed behind him. I didn't say anything, my thoughts swirling around the possible ways to diffuse his irritation. I opted to just fade into the background of his night. If he could not even realize I wasn't on a ride with him, maybe he would just ignore me. Either that or realizing that he had been oblivious already would make him more aware of where I was. It was so difficult to tell how he would react. For a moment, I wished those other guys had been allowed to hang out with us for the night. "Is there anyone even here?" "I thought they were open until midnight." Jerry asked nobody after standing at a register for a few seconds. "I'm here," someone said from behind the kitchen window. I looked toward a voice and saw a pair of eyes. They told us you would be open for food until midnight. It's barely 10:30. I wish they would make that clearer. Hold on a moment, the person said and left the window. A petite woman came around the other side. We have a limited menu tonight because it's just the two of you, she said when she got to the register we were standing at. What does that mean? Jerry asked. Well, your girlfriend got a burger while they were still available, but now there's only cold food, like salads, left. Jerry made a face. He hates salads. What about turkey legs? He asked. Oh, those closed down well before the park closed. What else is there? Desserts from the bakery that were made today, but you have to get those back at the entrance. The coffee shop is open for drinks and baked goods. I also have some pre-made sandwiches left. There's a ham sandwich and a tuna that was made most recently. Jerry took the ham sandwich and ate as we walked to the next ride he wanted to go on. Are you coming? He asked me before he got on the ride. I shook my head and sat at the exit, waiting for him. I liked the easy rides like the microverse. I wanted to coast on a river, in a boat, listening to dolls sing about how big the universe is and how small we are. Jerry wanted the thrill rides that made my stomach lurch and my head swim. The night continued like this. I was even more bored than I had been with the crowds of people. Instead of Jerry's irritation being directed at the crowds of strangers, it was all focused on me, the only other person. His irritation grew each time I refused to get on a ride, or he saw me sitting and waiting for him, looking off into space. Is that all you do? He asked at about 2 in the morning after he got off another thrill ride. You don't seem to be interested in anything. You don't want to ride all the rides. You don't want any merch, and you don't love the characters. I'm not the Northanger fan, you are. You're a fan. No, not really. Why did you come on this trip then? You bought the tickets before you asked if I was interested. You hate wasting money, so I just came with you. This was supposed to be a romantic trip. How? I asked. It hadn't even occurred to me that something romantic was going on. I was worried that he had some marriage proposal plan. In that we both love Northanger. But I don't. Now you tell me. How can we show people how much we love each other if you don't even tell me what you don't like? Do we have to show people how much we love each other? I asked. I spoke before thinking, but it was late, and I was more tired than I expected. That's the point of this trip. To show everyone. I don't think that's the point of a vacation. It's to have fun and relax. This might be fun for you, but it's not for me. What would be fun for you? A beach, drinking beers in the sun, bonfires at night, sailing on the ocean. I had never told him things like this. It had been evident since we started dating that his way of having fun was the only way we would have fun. Instead of this leading him to an epiphany, it sank him into a darker mood. Well, you're here now. You can go to the beach when you pay for the vacation. What do you want to ride? I shrugged. Something for babies? Something safe and easy like you. That stung. His abuse was always with his words. In 2 sentences, he made me feel like a child and a slut. I refused to respond, but when he stomped off toward another ride, I followed. He led me to the microverse ride. I braced myself for Jerry's plummeting maturity. He hated this ride. The facade of the ride was a spinning view of the night sky, turning clockwise and surrounded by children looking at it in wonder. The ring of children spun counterclockwise. You walked across a bridge to the gondola boats that fit 4 people. Jerry jumped on one boat, but I lingered, ending up 2 boats behind. He looked back at me, and I was sure he was rolling his eyes. The ride was creepy when it was full of people. These small dancing dolls of children and aliens, on their own tracks, moved through the scenery, a few following you through the entire ride. Periodically there would be screens, something probably added more recently, showing messages to the riders. Welcome, Amy. Bonjour, Amy. Gracias, Amy. We went through the ride once, and when we came back around, I saw Jerry standing on the platform waiting for me. I got up, thinking he was ready to move on, but I sat back down when he jumped into my boat. His mood had shifted again. You know what lyrics I hear for the song? He asked me. Something about sex in the boat. I knew this mood well too. It was cocky Jerry, sometimes literal and figurative simultaneously, who thought he could get away with anything. His abuse could shift, pushing me to do things that I usually wouldn't agree to. Sex in a boat, on a ride, in Northanger Parks was exactly what I expected from this version of my boyfriend, and I silently berated myself for not seeing this coming. I felt his hand grab my thigh and his other arm wrap around my shoulders to pull me closer. EW. No, not in a boat where children will sit in a few hours. Who will know? He whispered after grabbing my head and pulling me toward him. I looked up and pointed to the apparent camera pointed right at us. We can give them a late-night thrill, he said as his hand moved up to my breast and squeezed too tightly. He'll always hurt you, Amy. I looked back quickly to the screen that displayed the message, but it now showed a blank screen. Was that a message from the people watching the ride? Were staff members watching us all night? Are we their entertainment? I'm not having sex with you on the ride, I said, pushing him away. Run away, Amy. Get off the ride and get away from him, Amy. Don't wait until the ride ends. Get off now and hide, Amy. I looked at Jerry, afraid he had seen the messages too, but he wasn't facing the screens giving me messages. I quickly stood up and jumped out of the boat and onto the ride's displays. I ran back the way we came. Amy. What are you doing? I heard Jerry yell behind me, but his voice faded as the distance between us increased. I didn't know where to go. I would see him come back around if I went back to the entrance. We were the only 2 people in the park, so he would be able to find me off the ride. The security people might even help him, not that we had seen any since they had cleared out the park hours before. The cameras would know where I am. I could go back to the room, but he would go there too. Even if I managed to evade him for the rest of the trip, we were on the same flight home and sitting next to each other. I should have thought this through better. Amy? I heard him calling, his voice now getting louder as the boat came back around. I dropped to the ground, behind a large set piece of India. It was dark back here, and I hoped it was difficult for him to see, even when he turned the corner. I could see one of the screens. Here he comes again, Amy. He won't get out of the boat, Amy. Stay where you are, Amy. It will be okay in the morning, Amy. We'll take care of you, Amy. Jerry didn't get out of the boat but kept coming around and around every 5 minutes, calling my name, apologizing for being a jerk, and promising to never do it again. I had heard this all before, but the screens had to be messages from security. You're safe, Amy. Stay here, Amy. Eventually, Jerry stopped coming around. I didn't move for a while, but ultimately, I moved closer to the exit. There were just random, modern-looking dolls there. I wanted to be ready to exit in the morning when security came. They would know I was in the ride, and I didn't want them to hunt for me. I found a spot big enough to sit in, closed my eyes, and fell asleep. Adios, Ashley. Bye, Carlos. Ciao, Benny. I opened my eyes. I was standing in the spot I had slept in. I tried to move my arms and legs, but I was stuck. Then I felt my right arm lift and my hand twist in a wave. My entire body moved on a rotating platform. All I could see were the kids and parents on the boats and the other dolls, all copying the same wave as each boat passed.